Hey, my name is Jeremie Foster, and welcome to my Q&A video. Now, I know you're wondering, why am I not behind a drum pad right now? Why am I not playing any beats? Well, for those who don't know, on my Instagram a few weeks ago, I made a post basically asking for people to submit any questions that they may have so that I can answer them, in a YouTube video. And so here I am. And there were a lot of questions submitted, a lot of good questions at that. So hopefully I'll be able to answer them fully so that you will have a lot of information to take with you. I'll be going back and forth to my laptop. I have my laptop right here. So if you see me looking to the left, yeah, I'm looking at my laptop. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first question I have is, when did you first start drumming? Well, I first started when I was about 3 or 4. When I was around that age, I had these toy drumsticks. And so I would take those toy drumsticks and literally beat on everything in the house. And my mom would get mad at me every time I would do that. But I would beat on everything, especially in the bathroom. Like in the bathroom walls, I would just play random beats on those on the wall. That's how I knew this was really a God-given gift, because like I was literally 3 or 4, and that was one of the main toys that I wanted to play with, was those toy drumsticks. And I would go so far as to make a drum set. I would make a makeshift drum set out of like sand buckets and frisbees. And so I would put the frisbees on top of, I would have like 3 or 4 sand buckets, and I would put 2 frisbees on top of 2 of the sand buckets, and just use that as a drum set and just make random beats. And I just thought that was so cool. But when I was about 7, that's when I really learned how to hold my sticks, really learned my first rudiment, like a paradiddle, and really started to really learn. How long have you been in marching band? Well, I started playing for an organized marching band when I was in the 6th grade. And I was a 6th grader playing for a high school marching band, which was the high school I eventually went to, Frederick Douglass High School. And so, the way that I was able to do that was amazing, actually. My middle school band director at the time, Mr. Dallas, he's like my godfather. I still speak to him to this day, because he really taught me a lot about not only music but just life in general. And so, but yeah. When he was, my middle school band director in 6th grade, he noticed that I had a talent that was kind of better than the other students. Like, he really knew that I had a really good skill with playing the snare drum. And so he thought of an idea to, every day after school, just take me up there to Douglass High School and watch, their band practice. And so, after a few weeks of that, I would watch them practice and learn what they're playing. And after a while, I really knew everything that they played. And so Mr. Moody, the band director at Douglass High School at the time, he just decided to put me on the drum line. And from then, I literally took off. Like, I was the smallest guy on this drum line. I probably will put a link to the YouTube video of one of the performances we did back then. But you would clearly see who I am, because I was the smallest person on there. But it was a great experience. All right, we'll go to the next one. What does smooth transition mean? For those who don't know, smooth transition is my Instagram name. And interesting enough, that was the line name that my fraternity, Phi Mu Alpha Symphonic Fraternity of America, that was the line name that they gave me. I crossed Spring 13, and they noticed that I was a good singer and a good stepper, and I was able to transition between stepping and singing without, sounding super tired while singing. And according to them, they really thought I was a good singer, even after doing a whole step show. And so I guess they noticed that and decided to call me Smooth Transition. And then the MU, because Phi Mu Alpha, so they, instead of putting SMOOTH, they put SMUTH. And so yeah, I just decided to name my Instagram after that. Why did you choose Bethune-Cookman? I knew that question was going to be asked, but well, that's a good question though. When I was in the 6th grade, that's when I first saw a clip of Bethune-Cookman's drum line. And the clip that I saw was them performing their 2005 feature. But in that feature, their section leader started off the feature with a solo. So they had the spotlight on him, and he was just doing a solo before the feature. And I thought that solo was the most amazing solo ever done. Like, shout out to Terrence Taylor. He's the person that did that solo, and I actually ended up meeting him. That's also my frat. That's also my frat too. So, but yeah, that was just the most amazing solo ever done. And that's me looking at it as like an 11-year-old. I was so amazed, and I was like, yo, I have to go to Bethune-Cookman. I have to play for this drum line because they are really cool. Even as they started playing the feature after his solo, even that feature was just so cool. Like, and so ever since then, I was always like, I'm going to Bethune-Cookman. Like, even as I progressed, to high school, my college choices kind of changed. Now, at one point, I wanted to go to Alabama State. At one point, I wanted to go to North Carolina A&T. Shout out to Harvey. At one point, I wanted to go to like FAMU only for engineering, not for band. Anyway, always in the back of my mind, I always had Bethune-Cookman. Like, that was always like, I might just go to Bethune-Cookman. And that's where I ended up going, and so that's what happened. I'm so glad that I made that choice too. So we'll go ahead to the next one. What was your major at Bethune-Cookman? Why did you choose that major? My major at Bethune-Cookman was computer engineering with a minor in mathematics. And the reason why I chose that major because math was my favorite subject, and it is my favorite subject even to this day. I like to think. I like to think critically. Like, I like critical thinking. I like to think fast. And so, and then I also, as I got older, I kind of gained an interest in programming and coding. And so when I found out that there's careers in coding, there's careers in programming, there's careers in math that you can combine all that stuff and literally make money for it. That's when I was like, okay, I'm a major in computer engineering, so I could get a job doing this stuff. And that's literally what I did. And even right now, to this day, I'm working as a systems analyst using my computer engineering degree from Bethune-Cookman University, not from Georgia Tech, not from Florida State, or not from whatever, from a HBCU, Bethune-Cookman University. So for those listening who's trying to decide whether to go to a HBCU or a PWI, you can get a good job from a HBCU. You really just have to really work for it. Like, just don't sit there and just go to school. Make sure you go on to internships. Make sure you learning what they're teaching you at the school, so that you could really use that in the workforce after you graduate. But yeah, computer engineering was my major, and yeah. What was your freshman year like at BCU? It was pretty fun. It was amazing, even with the band. That was my first time being around a group of my peers who were from different states, but we all shared the same passion of playing the drums, and we all had the same dream of one day wanting to play for Bethune-Cookman's drumline. And so it was so cool to be able to hear the different stories of people who always dreamed of one day wanting to play for Sudden Impact, and then finally playing with them. It used to be so cool. Like, after practices, we would always just meet up and talk about how practice was and stuff, and we would just always practice together. Even after practice, we would practice on our own together. And even to this day, all my freshman brothers and sisters, like, they're like my friends to this day. That was a good experience. But yeah, freshman year, it was good. I was like the super quiet one, even though we couldn't talk anyway. But I was super quiet, but I was super talented though. So it was like I really knew how to chop, but I was quiet, and like some of the old heads really didn't like that. Like, they didn't like that at all, and I knew they did. But I was very humble. I wasn't cocky about it. I wasn't, because I knew that this gift was given from God, and I don't think God would want me to just flaunt this all over everybody, saying, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, So I just, kept it to myself, and just used that to, add on to the section, So, all right, so we'll go ahead to the next one. How many years were you section leader at BCU? Well, the first year I was assistant section leader, Well, first of all, I was section leader for 4 years. The first year I was assistant section leader, which was in 2014, 2015, that school year. I was assistant section leader. And then the 3 years after that until I graduated, I was head section leader. So 2014, 2015, I was assistant. And then from fall 2015 to fall 2017, I was head section leader. So assistant section leader for 1 season and then head section leader for 3 seasons. And it was definitely an experience. How was it being section leader at Bethune-Cookman? Like I said, it was an experience, man. While I was assistant section leader, I was mainly low key. I would mainly step in whenever the other section leaders weren't around, like whether they had class or they had other things to do. That's when I would step in. But I was basically learning how to be a section leader, so to speak. And so, but when I first became head section leader, that's when they all hit me. Like, it was a dream though. Like, it was a dream come true, literally. When I first became head section leader in 2015, it was crazy, like that, and being able to go to band camp, the freshman band camp, and being able to meet my first group of freshmen in 2015. Just the thought of having to, instill in them all the knowledge that I know about Bethune-Cookman and about playing drums, it was just crazy for real. Like, but it was a dream come true, and it was a challenge at first. I will be completely honest. It was a challenge because that was my first time being the sole leader of a collegiate drumline. And so I had been section leader before when I was in high school, but it was nowhere near compared to how it was in college. So I really had to take what I learned the year before being assistant, and then take that and then implement my own leadership skills into leading the collegiate drumline. And you'll see as the years progressed, the section just got better and better and better up until I graduated. And even right now, them boys are really good, and I just can't wait to see how the drumline will be even 10 years from now. But yeah, it was an experience, and I would do it again. Honestly, I would be section leader again, only because I loved Sudden Impact and I love playing drums, and there's no other drumline like Sudden Impact, literally. Not to be cliche, but yeah. What is your favorite Sudden Impact cadence? That's a good question. My favorite cadence would probably be 2000. The whole name is Feature 2000, and that's the feature that Sudden Impact played in 2000. That Mr. Pedro Owe, which is the drum instructor, that's the cadence that he wrote for them in 2000. And so, and from then to now, Cookman just always been playing that. But and it's not even that technical, but it's very visual though. And it was that visual aspect that really stuck out to me, that really intrigued me. And I was super happy when we started playing it my freshman year, because I used to always watch clips of them playing it on YouTube. And so when we finally learned it, man, I was like, I was super amazed. Like, it was crazy. But yeah, I would say 2000. And that's like a super traditional cadence too. Like, that's an impact cadence. Like, so that, yeah, whenever you hear the drumline section play 2000, like, it's gonna knock for real. But yeah, that's one of my favorites. And if you want to listen to how it sounds, you can just YouTube BCU playing 2000 and you'll check it out. What is your favorite cadence that you wrote for Sudden Impact? Well, I wrote a few cadences for Sudden Impact, but I would say my favorite cadence that I wrote would be Jarhead. Jarhead was my favorite cadence. I initially wrote that because when I was in high school, well, really when I was in middle school playing for my high school, I was in middle school when we used to play a cadence with the same name, Jarhead. And that used to be my favorite cadence when I was in middle school. Like, I used to be so happy every time we played Jarhead. And even the folks in the section knew, like, every time they used to say Jarhead, I would just get happy. And so, and that's the one memory, that's like one main memory that I have from being a middle schooler in the high school band. And so I just took that memory and was like, I'm gonna take that cadence and kind of make it way more complex, because the cadence that we played at Cookman is nowhere near the way we played it at Douglas. But the intro to the cadence is kind of similar to how we played it at Douglas. But everything after like the first four measures of the cadence is all original. But I just wanted to do something to kind of shout out my high school, before I graduated, and so yeah, that's why I wrote Jarhead. Let's see, what inspired you to create Vunts? That's a good question. For those who don't know, Bethune-Cookman has a warm-up called Vunts. And interesting enough, the name Vunts came from my girlfriend. That's her nickname that her family gave her. And I always thought that was a super interesting name, like Vunts. Like I had never heard that name before, and so her whole family calls her Vunts. And so when I heard that, I just thought that was cool, and I thought that one day I would name a cadence that. But as far as like the playing parts, one day I was just thinking of this groove in my head, and so I was just thinking of that groove in my head, and so I voice recorded it. Then I had went to class, and then when I had came back to my room, my dorm room, I heard that voice record again, and then I started putting that in finale. I put a bass part, then put a tenor part. But then as far as the snare part, I had noticed that Cookman really didn't have like a warm-up that focused on dynamics. Like we had an accent tap warm-up, we had an 8 on the hand warm-up, we had a diddle warm-up, but we really didn't have a warm-up that kind of focused on how to control your sticks when you're crescendoing and decrescendoing. And so that's why I kind of based the snare part off of when I did that. And the groove in that, though, the groove in that still stayed. That's why at one point of the warm-up, you see the snares ding 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 ding. Yeah, that's what inspired me to write Vunts. Shout out to my girlfriend Andrea. Shout out to Vunts. We'll go ahead to the next one. What is your favorite drumline feature? My favorite drumline feature is that I was in. My favorite drumline feature of all time is 2005. Watching Terrence Taylor do that solo in 2005. But my favorite feature that I was in was 2017. And that was my last season being section leader, and that was the season that I graduated too. But that year, man, that was an amazing year. We had every section was maxed out. We had 13 snares, man, and then the feature, man, the feature was what was amazing. Like shout out to my boy Jose. He wrote the intro for the feature. I wrote like the kind of middle section of the feature, and then Mr. Ore wrote everything else, and that was just. That was a really amazing feature. It was visual, it was complex. The snare solo in it was complex and visual. Shout out to Brandon, because me and him wrote the snare solo for that called BJ. We had a tenor solo. The tenors put their drums on stands, and they did like a visual solo on there. It was really good. And then we were in black band kits that year, so that really just made everything look 10 times better. So that was my favorite feature. And you could go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. I have a clip of us practicing it in the band room, so if you haven't seen it, you can go to my channel and check it out. But yeah, that was my favorite feature for real. What software do you use to write music? I used to use Finale. Like my whole music writing career, I was using Finale literally all the way up until a few months ago. And I really wish I knew about this software years ago, but it's all good. I used to always use Finale, but now I use MuseScore. And MuseScore is completely free, and the drums actually sound like real drums instead of like the digital drums that you get in Finale. But in MuseScore, I believe it's called MuseScore 3, you get the real sound of drums, as well as like a super easy interface where you can easily put in notes where you need it, easily put in accents and all that stuff. So yeah, MuseScore 3 is a really good software for writing music. So you should check it out. What exercises did you do to get your hands to the level they're at? Um, that's a good question. I did a lot of things, like a lot. I remember I used to like put a timer on and do a drum roll on a pillow and do that junk for like 20 minutes. Literally, I would do it for 20 minutes. And then take another rudiment, put a timer on, do another rudiment for 20 minutes on a pillow, then do another rudiment for 20 minutes on a pillow. And I would just always do that because I was like, yo, I have to get my hands right. And so I would always practice on a pillow. I would always play the music because, different songs have different tempos. So I would always, play to music and stuff. And this was like before the BYOS movement. But still, shout out to Ralph Nader though for starting that movement. But I would just always play to music so that I could, learn to stay on tempo while, playing what I need to play. And so just doing a lot of that was really what got my sound. Well, that's what really got my speed up. I kind of lacked in the sound quality area, but I always had that speed. I didn't really get the sound quality part until I got to Cookman, where I really learned how to play learn how to play with more power and more tone. But as far as speed, yeah, I would always play on a pillow. I would always play with a metronome, play with different songs, like songs at different tempos, so I could play different beats, staying on tempo and stuff. And yeah, man, that's it. And I also used to learn different solos too. SnareScience.com. That's where I learned all my solos, literally all my solos, and I kind of used that to kind of get my hands right and play different things. How did you learn to play fast? Yeah, like I said, I used to always play on a pillow. So I didn't get my first official drum pad, until 11th grade, and I actually bought myself a drum pad. It was an Invader pad, like a red Invader pad. But before then, I was always playing on a pillow. And so and me playing on a pillow, that's when I really got my speed right. Like I would always play the different songs. I would always, play the fast songs so that I could, get the fast rudiments right. And then I would play the slow songs so I could really know how to play the rudiment instead of just playing like random beats, beats where they don't supposed to go in the rudiment. And so I would always do that. And then, when I got my drum pad, by that time, I knew about, metronome apps. And then I would always play with a metronome. And then I would just over and over again play with a metronome. And then once I really got that speed down pack, increase by 10 BPMs, play the rudiment at that speed or play the solo at that speed. Once I got that down pack, increase 10 BPMs, play it at that speed, and then just keep going and going until I got my hands, to a good speed, or until my hands fell off. That's really how I was able to do that. Was reading music hard when you first started? Yeah, it definitely was. Coming from Douglas High School, we really didn't focus on reading music. Like there was one cadence we learned through music, and it took us like a whole year to learn to learn that piece of music. So I really didn't have that super strong skill of reading music until I joined this community high school drumline called Cream Percussion. Some of you may have heard of Cream Percussion, but yeah, that's when everything we learned at Cream Percussion was on music, was on sheet music. And I remember like it was yesterday, the day that I auditioned for Cream Percussion, because every year you have to audition. The first day that I auditioned for Cream Percussion, I remember all of the people that were trying to audition, we were all in this one room, and everybody was running these different solos. And this was before I was really into learning different solos, learning music, sheet music, reading sheet music and all that stuff. This was before I was doing all of that. And so when I saw everybody just running solos with each other, I was like, yo, how do all of y'all know some of the same solos? And then there was like, it's it's right here. Like, you don't know 10-second lick, you don't know Diddy, you don't know this. And I literally didn't know none of that stuff. And so there were like 2 rounds of the audition. And so the first round was on one Sunday, and then that next Sunday we had the second round. So in those 7 days, I literally learned every solo that I heard people playing. Like, I got the sheet music. I was teaching myself literally every solo, so that by that next week I will be able to run those solos with them folks and be able to catch up, so they can know that I'm good, But yeah, it was tough. But I would say that Cream. Once I joined Cream, that's what really took my music reading skills to another level, because before then, boy, I was not that great. But that's when I really learned how to read music. And so shout out to Cream, man. My boy Garrett Wilson, he got them boys good right now. So shout out to him, man. How do you come up with different stick tricks? Honestly, I just do a lot of experimenting. I kind of look at other guys drumming and see what they do, and just try to do a different variation, or I just make a trick up on my own. Like for example, most of my videos, I flip my right stick to my left hand, and in pretty much all my videos, and I just thought that was something super cool, because I used to see most people like kind of toss their stick to the left hand, and I thought that was cool. But I just wanted to take it to a next level and kind of throw it to the left hand, and then even sometimes I even kind of throw it from a high angle to my left hand. And I just thought that was a good trick to add to my repertoire, and so now I just do it in all my videos. But I pretty much just experiment, just try to do something that hasn't been done, or do a trick that I don't know of, learning from other people. And so, I just do a combination of those two to kind of increase my repertoire. Do you have any further plans for your drumming, or is it just a hobby at this point? Well, it's definitely a hobby. I will say that. Drumming will forever be a hobby for me. But yes, I definitely have plans. So actually, right now, I play for the Atlanta Hawks drum line, which is the official drum line for the Atlanta Hawks. We play at all the home games, and basically play for the fans. We do a pregame show, and we do a halftime show, and hopefully the Hawks will be in the finals next year. Hopefully. But yeah. So that's what I do now as far as organizational drumming. But of course, I still do my YouTube videos. And then from time to time, I help out different high schools, and I really want to host clinics with high schools. So if there are any people who are in high school drumlines right now who want me to, host a clinic at your school, please reach out to your band directors and ask them if I could come through, because I really want to teach these kids and just pass on the knowledge that I have, because I really want to show these kids that, you could take this little skill of playing the drums and literally make a career out of it. And not even through drumming, but just you can use your knowledge of drumming and transfer that knowledge into any other career, and you'll be amazing at it. I have one other thing that I'm planning on doing, but I'm not gonna say yet. But you will see soon what I'm talking about. But there's one other thing, but I'll make that announcement later. But I definitely plan on continuing with my drumming and using that for different things. And I believe that is all the questions that I have. So if there are any questions that I left off, please comment them. I'll be sure to answer them. I'll be sure to answer all those questions that you may have. Check out the different clips, the different cadences that I mentioned in the video. I'll leave a link in the description so you can watch them. But yeah, like I said, make sure you, if I left off any questions that you have, make sure you leave them in the comment section, and I'll be sure to answer them for you. I hope I was able to answer all your questions. This talking thing is kind of crazy, so I promise my next video will be a drumming video. But yeah, I just wanted to do a Q&A video so people could really, get this information. So thanks for watching my Q&A video, and I will see y'all later.